kurwa! We are here, Zach and I, as experts in our field of gaming and nerdery, to discuss something that was kindly and sadly overlooked in the podcast all about gaming. We touched on it very briefly, which is Crash Bandicoot, a favourite game of ours, pretty much a huge chunk of my childhood gaming memories. But for fear of making the podcast go over maybe, 3 hours, we thought we'd save it for a little quick segment and rewind back to your podcast and pick up a topic. And that being Crash Bandicoot and gaming. So, welcome, Zach. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
It's a pleasure. We've ditched the other two because, quite frankly, they would probably be bored to tears with this, talking more about this. So,
and I'll be bored to tears listening to their inputs for this, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just the two of us. So we've got some quick fire stuff to go through. We'll try and keep it short and sweet, but we just want to share our love for Crash Bandicoot because I don't know about you, it was the first video game really I got let loose on my own without supervision. I was plonked on my PS1 that my great granddad bought me, and pretty much every 10 minutes I'd be asking help from somebody to get me past this hard bit.
That was me for my brother. When he had one, I was helping him.
Yeah, it was literally I say 10 minutes, probably every 2. And I'm now experiencing the same thing with my daughter Sophia, who I got her into the Insane trilogy when they released the reboot with all the brand new colouring and everything. It was lovely, but my God, it's hard, way harder than it used to be. I swear. Maybe it's just me, but even I struggle to give her a hand sometimes. But yeah. So what are your memories of Crash Bandicoot? That's the first game.
It was one of those things where I think it was one of the first games I played where you actually were required to think a little bit. Like there was a lot of times in Crash that obviously to get things done, you can't just choose one route through. You always have to do a route, come back, and then do another version. And it made you think, and you had to actually think your way out of certain things, which I think was the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, before that, a lot of video games were quite babyish.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the video games I played before Crash Bandicoot were on Sega Mega Drive, which is pretty much point A to point B, and then sort of shuffle your way along, sort of side scrolling. Crash Bandicoot was that, but it was kind of the first in its field to change it from sort of side scrolling to forward scrolling, but the same kind of principle of a linear path, but then having to double back and get those boxes that you missed because you've hit a switch, and then painstakingly come back on yourself, but you couldn't see what you were coming back on because the camera wasn't there and you couldn't turn it.
That much.
Oh, they used to mess me up, man. I mean, in fact, I don't think it's even been until sort of the replay of the Insane trilogy that I was actually able to complete some levels like that fully.
Yeah.
And go for it. I mean, to this day, I don't think I've ever completed a level that got all the boxes. Not on purpose, anyway. I might have done it by accident, but I don't think I've ever, because it was a ridiculous game.
Absolutely, because you always got the bonus bits as well. Like you had to go and
it was truly, truly, truly insane. It was, it was ahead of its time in terms of graphically and in the way that games are made. No one had ever seen anything really like it. I think Donkey Kong and Mario 3D and things like that, they'd sort of been out and about. Mario 64, sorry, had been out and about, and they challenged the escape. I think Crash really, they didn't treat people like kids anymore. It's like, if you slip up on this little jump here, that's it. If you don't have enough Wumpa fruit or enough lives, back to the beginning. Sorry, that's it. Game over. Back. Do it all again.
I mean, you see that in games now still. Like you've got the areas where you can't die, otherwise you get booted back to the start. So I think there's a lot that can be taken from now.
Oh yeah, actually, I think they set the precedent. I think of not treating gaming just for kids.
Yeah, 100%. Not if you die, you can redo it all over again, like a little bit over again.
Yeah. I mean, I say they set the precedent. Obviously, things like Mortal Kombat and blah 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 aimed at. But I mean, in terms of the cartoonish style of Crash Bandicoot, they were still like, come on, adults, come on, have a go.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't easy.
There's no particular age group it actually
exactly. It covered a little bit of everything, and I know for me, it made me get better. It's one of those games you get good. You can't, otherwise you don't enjoy the game.
Like a COD player, you get good.
You get good, get good. But I mean, the first game, the original game, 25 years old this year.
Madness.
Which makes me feel so old, so old. I suppose because the first game probably. I mean, you probably played it, but I can imagine it wasn't the first one. Was it the first one you picked up, or was the second or third one?
I think probably second one I picked up. And then went back because I realised there was obviously the first one. But
no, I know quite a lot of my friends sort of either had the second one or the third one, and then went back and then played all the way through them.
Yeah.
Most of my friends seem to be younger than me, which is really irritating.
Saying nothing.
I as I say, I fell into the first one, trial by fire. And then sort of the second and third games, they'd finally sort of perfected the formula. The thing that strikes me as well is back in the day, obviously, making a game was hard enough. They turned around those Crash Bandicoot games in sometimes less than a year.
Yep. You listening, Activision?
Yeah.
And Sledgehammer, sort yourselves out.
Less than a year. In fact, and the games were complete. And arguably, I don't think there's really any bugs in them. And if they were fun ones, not game-breaking bugs.
Yeah.
Raven Software, Activision.
My gun.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I've got probably a little bit less to do with graphically, but Crash can do it, you can do it. But
that's a new slogan. I like that.
Yeah. I think the story was Crash Bandicoot. The first one came out, and they were told that you'd have 2 years or 3 years maybe to produce the second one, because it was so popular. The studio turned around and went, "Okay, you've got less than a year, or you've got a year to get it out." So the second game was pretty much the first game, but with a few polishes and a little bit of added bits here and there. And it was, I think, the third game where it all really sort of came to a head. And they got all of the stuff together by that point. Because I mean, the third game for me was damn near gaming perfection.
Yeah.
Everything from the motorbike levels to sort of traveling through time elements to it. Oh, it's bloody marvelous. It really was. But yeah. So I digress, and we've covered sort of the 3 games and gone through a little bit of the history, and I've waffled on. So what I want to know is your favourite level from each of the 3 original games. So either one level per game, or if you've got some levels that you've like really loved in one particular game, just 3 levels.
Okay.
Shoot.
I've got my favourite Crash 1 level. Is Hog Wild, just riding the pig. That was good fun. I think if you ask anyone realistically to pull one level out of it, that was the poster child almost of.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you're on the same level as I am. Hog Wild for me was my number 1 from that first Crash game.
Yeah.
Not least of all, I remember being in hysterics, rolling around the floor, watching my stepdad Tony play the level for me because I could not bloody do it at all. Couldn't do it at all. It took me ages to master it. But watching him and seeing the little pig run around and chuck Crash off, and it was the same when Sophia did it herself, and then she got me to do it, and she was laughing away, and it was just, I totally agree with you there.
Just good fun.
Yeah.
I think for Crash 2, I think it was Hang 8.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the little surfy board things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite, just because that was a bit different. Like,
it was one of the. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was. You could obviously jump over, you do your little flips, and you carry on. And obviously, it had its standard run along element too, but I think it just chucked a little bit different in there. It was just good fun, I think. So.
Yeah, it was like, aside from riding animals, I think it was one of the first sort of elements that added of like riding a vehicle.
Yeah.
In it, and that was that was a good one. I mean, for me, I have a twisted history with Crash 2 because my copy of the game only made it to Warp Room 3, I think, or something like that, and then the game would crash if I tried to go on the level Snowbiz. This is how much it's ingrained in my mind. I had a dodgy copy, and it got to Snowbiz, and every time I'd go in it, it would just like reload and load black screen. That was it. So I could only ever go as far as that level. So my favourite level is one I played repeatedly because it was the only one of the few levels I could ever play, which was Road to Ruin. It's the one you're on top of like the ruins and there's lots of lizards, and it was the first enemy they brought in. You had to slide under them because they're giant frills.
Yeah, it's kind of got a what's that game on the phone they used to do where you had to like run along and
Oh, Jungle Run, Temple Run.
Jungle Run. It's kind of
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. It was that kind of thing where you're running, you had to run along, and then but I used to find that one very difficult. I could do sections of it, but that one always stuck in my mind just because I played it so much. Because I refused to buy another copy, and I think my family refused to buy me another copy. So I just used to play the same broken copy and play all the same levels. So Road to Ruin on that one was the same for me. But I also, yeah, it was, yeah.
It's gonna be one of those things where if we handed you a controller now in that game, we'd be like, "Oh my god, it's Jason Bourne."
Honestly, when I got the Insane trilogy
Yeah.
and I played the second game, the amount of sweat and shaking that was in my hands as I entered the warp tunnel on Snowbiz and it actually loaded up and I could actually play the rest of the game. Oh my days! I was on cloud nine. Literally,
There's more.
There's more to this game. What?
When there five
yeah.
warp things, weren't there in that one?
Yes.
I think it's 5 for that one, and then 6 for the last one.
Yeah, it was just my twisted history with the second game. Go on then, shoot. Game number 3.
Dynamite.
Oh,
because it was ambitious of them. I mean, you were changing directions and all sorts of. Yeah, it was ambitious. It was good. I liked it though.
yeah.
I think that probably my favourite for number 3.
I mean, to be fair, with 3, there's so many.
I
mean, I sat here and I wrote down absolute loads.
Mm.
Everything from the motorbike racing level.
Yep.
Dynamite was on there for me. But for me, the one I went for was Toad Village, the very first level. Yeah. Just because I remember when I opened up that case, put that disc in, and it loaded up, and the first level, Toad Village, just fell in love with Crash all over again. And I've never put that game down. I don't think for the whole time that I had the PS1 and PS2, even when I played it on the PS2, it was just a fantastic game. And that level for me brings back a lot of joy.
Yeah, definitely. So it pulls you back in, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's one of those games that whenever you jump back in, whatever version of it was, it just instantly you're back there. Yeah.
It was like when playing the updated versions of the Insane trilogy. It didn't seem any different from playing the original games, because to me that's how I saw that entire world, like as fleshed out and as attractive and colourful as sort of this kind of style. That's how I saw it. I didn't see the giant triangular pixels, square things, and the way that Crash's face looked absolutely horrifying in some situations. Like you just saw it as picture perfect, and I think that's the joy of the remakes and stuff, because you get to finally see it how you saw it in your head.
Yep, agreed.
Which is fantastic. So we'll move on quickly to boss fights. One of the key things in Crash, the boss fights.
You got to judge me on my boss fight choice, I reckon.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, you're gonna be like, you choose the easy ones.
See, I don't know. Mine are more nostalgic than anything else, or what I thought was fun.
Yeah.
Right. So go on then. Your third one.
My third one was the pinstripe fight.
Pinstripe pottery.
Oh, pinstripe, where you had to hide behind all the furniture and then you were all right.
Arguably, probably the easiest boss on any game in the world. Right. I'm not judging you for it, because I used to love that level too. I hated the level that preceded it, which was Toxic Waste with the bouncing brown barrels and the thing, and I could never get the timings right. It took me ages to get there. So to me, that was more of a boss fight than the actual boss fight. Pinstripe, probably one of my favourite characters that they created, Crash. It was hide behind the sofa.
Exactly.
Come out, whack him back in. Repeat.
You might argue that my next choice might be even slightly easier than this one.
That's all right. We're here for nostalgia, not for gaming credentials. So that's all right.
Absolutely.
You're fine.
Komodo Brothers.
Oh, yes.
Swords at you, and then he spins them around, and you get dizzy, and then you just run after him.
Absolutely. That was another great inclusion, because I see in some forums and some discussions that they're rubbish because they're second generation. Everyone loves the original bosses.
Yeah.
They were a great addition for me, and that boss fight was really, really cool. I did like that boss fight.
Yeah.
It was
quite funny. Easy though.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I wouldn't say that's too bad. Particularly if that was your first Crash game, I wouldn't say that's too bad.
Yeah.
Mine was Tiny Tiger. Both of his appearances, in game number 2, where you jump on the little circle
diagonal,
and you have to avoid him. And the one in 3 where he had the lions. I bloody hated that boss. Lions used to terrify me. I just panicked the entire time they were running out the little cages at you and just run around. But so I really liked both of those for various reasons. But but he's the first boss on game 3, so that's not hard. I mean, and jumping around in circles isn't that hard either. So I'm not judging. I'm not judging. Yeah, so feel better about your choices. Go on then, your top boss.
Engine.
Oh, I knew you'd pick that one.
Yeah, Engine.
Good man. Yeah.
It's just good. Yeah, it's just good fun. It is just good fun. And I think in the new, but if you think, which version of Engine fight you go in?
So actually, yeah, there's a good point.
Yeah.
Both of them were amazing.
Okay.
Both the one with the platform you're running up and down avoiding the missiles.
Yep.
The one I'm choosing is the one from 3, I think, which is Coco in the spaceship shooting the rockets. Yeah. That's my favorite. That I would replay that boss level over and over and over and over because I bloody loved being in that little spaceship shooting the rocket.
Definitely. Souls.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously that's my choice as well. That one. But as I say, both the engine fights are really good. I think that they're really, really effective with the patterns and stuff on that one. And yeah, being in a spaceship, you can't really beat that, can you?
As a child, it's like, whoa.
And then you think you've beaten it, and then he just turns into an even bigger thing and flies off, and then the tiger joins you and clicks to your ship, makes you more powerful, and then it'll tell a massive assault with missiles and everything.
What was the tiger called? It was like something.
Puma? Is it Puma?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I'll insert it here somewhere. I'll insert the clip.
The level where you ride them, isn't there? Over there.
Yeah. It's like Oriental Expressway or something like that.
That's the one. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. On top of the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other thing. Music on this game.
Yeah.
On the games were fantastic.
Yep.
The soundtracks, just you hear them, and I'm at the intro part before this. You obviously have heard it. I'll put it on there, and the outro. But it's just iconic music. If you play it, for most people our age, you go, Crash Bandicoot.
See, that's the thing. I think even people who didn't play it would recognise it possibly. Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think you're wrong. It's just if you're in the sort of gaming sphere, you hear anything to do with the Crash Whoa sound. I'm not going to try and do it.
So my partner has just gone, I'm one of those people. So she recognises it.
Yeah, there you go.
I recognise the sound. She's never played it.
Yeah. It's like if you hear anyone, it's like, wow! You know that's Crash Bandicoot. In the same way, It's Me, Mario is iconic as well. It's one of those things. I will circle back and we'll talk about the game that came after 3, which is the special game for the go-karting. We'll circle back to that and talk about that briefly, but I did want to talk about the original 3. So hardest level for you across the original 3 games.
Okay, so I've got an interesting one here.
Yep.
Because the original 3, it would be the high road.
Yeah.
But because there was one level that was supposed to be on the original one called Stormy Ascent.
Yep.
And that was taken off for being too hard and then added back in as a DLC later on. So I think the hardest one would have been Stormy Ascent, but naturally it was the high road before that.
Yeah. I'm in 100% agreement with that. Bloody walking over that bridge. Mate. And then you get the really cocky friends who knew how to do the thing where they could jump on the rope and just walk half of it on the rope. Yeah. And I could never bloody do it. So I was just sat there. I was just sat in my room crying every night because a pig killed me on a bridge that doesn't exist somewhere floating in the sky. But as you say, Stormy Ascent, played that on the new version, and I'm so glad I didn't put that in the game as a way of progressing because I'd have never made it past that.
No.
I took every last ounce of energy I had now as a fully grown man to get past that level, and I only barely did it.
Wrapped up, put away.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. No. But high road. There's some honourable mentions in, especially like the first game. I'd say. I think first island, native fortress, the one where you do all the bouncy boxes and there's different things you've got to dodge over as you climb this giant wooden wall.
Yep.
And that one, on the first island, it's like the 4th level or something. I think it's either just before Papu or just after. I can't remember, but it's ridiculous. But the jumping difficulty and like quick fingers you have to have for that is absolutely ridiculous. It really is.
This is what I'm in for now. Like,
yeah, it's like, oh, so this is the game I've started playing.
Shit.
I might put it down. I mean, I got to that point replaying the Insane trilogy, and I couldn't do it. So I had to put the game away for the rest of the day. I was like, I can't. I'm getting frustrated. I cannot do this. I'm going to put it down.
Yeah.
And do you remember? There was a hidden level. I think it was actually a level in the main game called Fumbling in the Dark, where you had to collect the Aku masks to make it brighter, and if you didn't collect them, it would get really dark.
I don't remember that.
No. Yeah. So
No.
I think I used the master cheat code.
Ooh, lovely.
Which was available on one of the PlayStation magazines. I think it was printed off, and I had it like written on a bit of paper. It was like triangle X, circle, circle, square, square, triangle X, square, circle, triangle. It was like 36 of them, and you typed it all in, and it unlocked all the levels and all the secret levels. But there was a level. I'll insert a video clip either around here somewhere.
I'm going to go back and look this up. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So I'll put that on there. But that was a bloody hard level. I wish I hadn't unlocked it, to be honest. Wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth the tears. Bloody hard. You basically had a long corridor in Cortex Castle or something. You had to walk. You had to run down, but you had to collect the masks. Otherwise, the light would go out, and you wouldn't be able to see anything. You would see enemies, holes on the floor, things coming at you. It was terrifying. It was mental. It was So we talked about the original three. We talked about how hard everything is. I just want to talk very quickly, because we need to wrap this up. Talk about Crash Team Racing, which for me was the epitome of racing games.
Yep.
I love Mario Kart. Everyone loves Mario Kart. But Crash Team Racing for me was like at the pinnacle of racing games.
Definitely. More fun.
Yeah, honestly, way more fun. Heavy on shortcuts, so you had to get really good at the game to find all the shortcuts and use the shortcuts. Which I found out. I mean, I thought I was always really good at Crash Team Racing, and then they have, was it Crash Nitro Kart or Nitro Fueled?
Yeah, Nitro.
Which is online racing against other people in the world. Turns out I'm crap. Turns out I thought I was amazing. No, it's rubbish. I'm rubbish. I can't do half the things I thought I could do. If I can do them, everyone else can do them miles better than I can, apparently. So, but no, Crash Team Racing. What was your favorite track?
My favorite track?
Yeah.
Papu's Temple thing was quite.
Yeah, that was for me. That was probably my favorite one, only because that was the one I ended up, for some reason, racing on the most as a child. I don't know why. I mean, there's some honourable mentions in there. I used to love the Sewer Speedway one.
Yeah.
That was really good. And Ruse Tubes as well. I used to love that one. That's quite a broad track. It was like the first boss race, I think it was. It was all underwater.
Yes.
Remember, and they had some turbines in it and stuff. And I used to like that because it was quite a free-flowing track, and you could get lots of boosts up. Go really quick around it. It's quite a fast track.
Launch.
Right, I mean, Papu's Pyramid one has got the sharp corners going up the thing, and in order to boost around that, you've got to be exact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't remember the names of them. I just remember the track, and I know.
Yeah. No, that's always what. I mean, I had to look them up. I have to be honest. I couldn't wrap my brain that hard. And I remember all of them, but Dingo I've got written down here. Dingo Canyon, which I remember doing, which was Dingo Dance one. I had his little restaurant off the side. That was a good twisty turny one. Engine Labs, another one with lots of twisty turns and sharp corners and drops and all sorts of stuff. And there was one that had giant barrel would drop down. You had to time it and drive around the outside, or you could risk it and go for the speed boost in the middle.
Which one do you think I was?
Every time I'm going down the middle.
Exactly.
More speed, and then get crushed by a giant toxic waste tank.
100%.
Yeah, every time. And then one of my favorites actually was Hot Air Skyway, which brings me on to the final topic I want to ask you. That was the hardest race that you raced. Do you remember, or the hardest boss?
It's going to be the obvious. It is genuinely going to be the obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nitrous oxide.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would like to say, on behalf of everyone who played Crash Team Racing, Oxide, you're an absolute knob. There's no way you beat me that time. There's no way. I was miles ahead of you, and you somehow caught me. I'm now speaking for every person on the planet who's played that game, because we've all said that every time, numerous times before we finally did it, and we've all done a little dance afterwards. Gone, fuck it.
In the TV, like,
yeah, exactly. Take that oxide, you.
That was only me last week.
Absolutely. Oh no, that was awful. The only one sort of slightly behind that one is talking about Hot Air Skyriff. It was the Pinstripe Potteroo race, because he used to fire cannonballs out behind him, and that one had a lot of, because it was up in the air, he had a lot of falls and drops and stuff. The amount of times he hit me with a cannonball and I'd bounce, roll, blop, and I'd be miles behind it, and there's no point racing at that point. Just restart.
Which takes a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that game did train me very well to the point where I got really good at pushing pause, restart, all in one fluid movement. Do them, restart, done. It was amazing. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Yeah. It was a short, sweet retrospective and little chat. Mostly me talking, because idea. I just want to talk about Crash Bandicoot all day. I could do this for hours, but we have other pressing things to do. So I just want to say thank you for joining me, Zach.
Yeah, thank you.
And listening to me for the most part, and also having an input though. Also, me. Otherwise, just be me here talking to myself. And no one wants that.
What are you about?
But yeah, so thank you. Thank you for watching out there. If you want more stuff like this, put in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you all again real soon. Bye. What have I got?